For the Lord gives wisdom. From his mouth come knowledge and understanding.
So Thursdays are my scheduled rest day, and I also use them as an opportunity to do a lot of mobility work. Mobility work can feel overwhelming for most people, and it can be, frankly, pretty boring. If you don't have mobility incorporated into your plan and you are consistently lifting, then I highly recommend that you use some kind of program like ROMWOD, or find a good routine, or if you really can't hold yourself accountable, consider incorporating some yoga classes that are primarily focused on deep stretching. But here's what I like to do. I always start with a foam roller. You want to start with broad brush strokes and then get to the specific pain points thereafter. So using a foam roller to desensitize a bit and then moving on with a lacrosse ball. My problem areas tend to be my hip and my QL, specifically on my left side, as well as my left shoulder rotator cuff and my left trap. So I make sure to get in these areas specifically and balance out on both sides. You really want to focus on moving through the full range of motion of the joint while applying pressure in a way that keeps the joint stable. Then I like to move through more compound stretching, primarily for hamstrings, as that is a problem area for me. Really focus on, again, moving through that full range of motion of the joints. Also like to get deep into my quad or knee flexion. If you can't do this, you can perform a partial movement. And if you can't do this, then you can work on back bends on the floor. I finish off with some band work to get my shoulders loose. And that about caps it off. It's not exact, it's different every time, but very similar. So we can manipulate the body's response to water intake by increasing and then dropping it suddenly, and it creates a dehydration effect in the body without actually fully dehydrating the body. It's weeks like this where you have literally everything thrown at you and you freaking show up. Those are the weeks I'm gonna be like, you did it. You put yourself first. You had a few really great reflective moments this week where you kind of understood that it's not that hard if you prioritize. And I think a lot of times people are quick to set a goal, but they are slower to say, okay, I realize that if I want to achieve this goal, which is something different than what I currently have, something other than my current life circumstances, then that's going to require habits and behaviors that are different than what I've been doing up until this point. Awesome job. Keep it up. Let's look at push B this week. Hold steady with nutrition and activity, and we'll go from there. Hey guys, so I've taken you through my full day of eating, and this diet or this routine around food at this moment has been really focused on getting my gut health in a good spot. If you haven't yet, watch my video where I talk about what's been going on with my digestion and what I'm doing to address it. So in the first week, I added in some betaine to help with digestion, and since then I have been adjusting food sources to choose things that really align with my digestion, that support healthy bowel movements, that do not result in gas and bloating and discomfort, acid reflux. I've been really working on addressing all of those symptoms and really starting to find a pattern of eating that works well for me. This full day of eating is pretty moderate. It is a rest day, so on training days I eat a bit more food, but I still stick with these kind of options, and that seems to be working pretty well for me right now. So over the past few days, I'd say I had the best digestion that I've had in months, which is really exciting to say considering just 2 weeks ago my digestion was a disaster, and even last week it was very labile and seemed to fluctuate throughout the day pretty significantly. So right now I'm eating probably my favorite meal, which is just like a gut health bomb, and I have plain Greek yogurt. I have that Siggy brand. I have kefir, both really great sources of probiotics, and mixed berries in there, as well as a bunch of different seeds. And that may sound scary for those of you who are a little bit fearful of fiber. And to be honest, I was very fearful as well, having been on a keto diet where fiber generally was pretty low. And then when I reintroduced a lot of veggies, had a lot of issues around digestion. I've learned what fibers work well for me, and for myself, at least as of right now, a lot of vegetables do not agree with my digestion. So I'm making sure that I'm getting my fiber through other sources, and I found ways that work really well for me. Found that the way that I combine foods makes a big difference, so I couldn't put all these seeds and fibrous sources on top of a meal that was already a little bit more difficult to digest, such as, say, a salad. But I can mix them all on top of yogurt and protein, which digests pretty quickly for me, and that seems to work well and gives me an opportunity to get that fiber intake in. So it's all about just trial and error every day, taking what you learned, the next day moving forward with what worked and making tweaks to what didn't. But overall, not doing too much to overhaul your entire diet and then resulting in either not really knowing what worked and then overly limiting yourself unnecessarily because you cut out everything that could possibly be an irritant and maybe it worked and now you're left with no food options. Or you end up spending a crazy amount of money on supplements when really it may have only taken a few little adjustments to food. So this seems to be working pretty well for me right now, and I'm excited to continue sharing this journey as I solidify a plan that really seems to work for me and maybe could be beneficial to you in your own journey with digestion. I know this is kind of a weird meal because it is super like powdery, so to speak, with all the seeds and like PB2 on top. I love that powdery texture, and I know that's really weird, and it might be a little disordered. When I was in prep, I got into the habit of when I was like really hungry, I would go take like a damp spoon and dip it in protein powder and then like chew the protein off the spoon. It's best off of a plastic spoon if that's something that you want to try. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it, but you know, we all have those weird quirks in prep, and it was something that gave me a little bit of a sweet fix. It's actually pretty delicious if you have some good protein, and because of that like chewy texture as you chew on powder, it gives you like several minutes of feeling like you're eating something. So pro tip, disordered or not, I like powdered textures, and so this one's really good for me. But if you don't, you can mix it all in together so you're not sitting there chewing on powder like I like to do. I'm gonna eat this not on camera because it's definitely not a meal that you want to probably eat in front of other people considering the texture. Not a first date meal, side note, but I'm gonna enjoy this and then move on with the rest of my day.